behind many of the seemingly joyful pop hits coming out of Sweden, there's always been something darker going on. An element of melancholy. Even ABBA's Waterloo was about surrendering to a relationship that you didn't necessarily want to be in. Maybe that's what makes these songs so appealing. There's something a little more complex than we tend to give them credit for.
That hint of melancholy that you can hear in a lot of Swedish hit music, if you will, mainly comes from our living conditions, this fact that we live in this dark, cold country way up north.
'Cause I want it that way.
Today we're doing part 2 of our music episode. Just a couple of days before we decided to meet, Arkheim told me that he had some new memories about this cult come back to him. So this is going to be interesting. Okay, so just to start, what is this Ordo Tempulum Nephilim? Is this like an official organization? Is it like ultra secret?
Have you ever seen the movie Midsummer? There's a movie called Midsummer, and it's like
I've heard of it.
It's about these Americans that go to this Swedish town that's like in the middle of nowhere, and these people are all in a cult. And at first it seems like, oh, these people are whimsical, it's cool, whatever. But then it gets weird, and it's like similar to that, like very like occult, like pagan, like kind of like beliefs like involved in this. Moloch is involved. I remember that. Like, and I'll be clear about the Moloch stuff, and a lot of it is I was a child. And what they would do is they would, my first involvement with Ordo Tempulum Nephilim was as a child, and I would wake up at a cloning facility, and this guy would basically be there to bring me to the recording studio. And, yeah, the recording studio is Chiron Recording Studios is what it was called, which is connected to Max Martin and Dennis Pop.
Okay.
Responsible.
Huge names. Yeah.
Huge names, yeah, responsible for so many hit songs, and there's a reason for that.
My name is Dennis Pop. This here is Max Martin, and we're one of the producer crews behind Ace of Base on the new album.
As a songwriter, he's topped only by John Lennon and Paul McCartney for the most #1 hits of all time.
Dennis Pop has been dead for quite a while, but he's involved in time travel stuff. And there's actually an interview that I'll send to you that we'll hopefully include in this with Dennis Pop, where, yeah, like planes are going to be obsolete. Like, why would you use a plane? You walk through a portal.
Man måste vara teleporter, som det heter på spacespråk. Det tycker jag vore så man slipper åka ut till Arlanda och sitta och vänta och checka in och såna här.
The way it works is like these idols that people worship, that's who they're looking at. They're not looking at Dennis Pop. So he's, even though he's extremely well known and extremely famous, he's also not. Same thing with Max Martin. But yeah, I would get brought there to work on music with them, and as a little boy, and they called me the boy who sings. And it's really hard for me, these memories, because I do believe that they were doing some weird sexual rituals and stuff like that involving me. But the memories are really blurry. And they're doing that with Britney as well. And I think kind of the whole thing is, and like I said, it's all really disjointed, but I think I'm right here when I say it, that they have clones of everybody. And that's why it's called Chiron Studios. It's like Chiron was a Greek god that longed for death. He was like a healer, but he couldn't die. Like, he was wounded, but he couldn't die. And so I think that's why they call it Chiron Studios. And I would get taken to sing melodies and help them make songs there. Probably because of the fact that I'm one of the pantheon of gods, the Egyptian gods. It's part of it too, part of the ritualistic aspect of why they would do that. But they would like, so I'd wake up in this cloning tube, and this guy would be like, "Hey, do you remember me?" You know, every time he'd be like, "No." And then he'd be like, "Oh, okay, good." And he always found it really humorous that I didn't remember him. And they would bring me there, and like, I'd work on the song, and it was in this like other room, and like yeah, they'd be. I remember they'd be like doing drugs and stuff like that, and you know, it's like one of those things where it really doesn't take like 8, 12 people to work on a song. Like I think that's just how they split the money. Like, you know what I mean? Like because they're just it's like the ritual aspect of it to have them there, and then he had
Okay.
this thing called the red light. Dennis popped it where, and you can see in documentaries and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like there's a
The
red
hit
light.
the hit light.
Yeah, the hit light, and that was connected to the. He said, "Oh, it's going off. It's a hit. That's why it's going off. Whatever." But it's like, no, it was connected to the rituals that were happening underneath the facility that had clones of people who were up there and were a part of the songs. So yeah, they were. It's like a really weird, bizarre thing, and that's a thing that they use all the time that I've talked about. It's not just limited to the music industry. Like you know, I talk about Appleton, Wisconsin, where I'm from, and they have clones of everybody underneath the surface, and like the movie Us kind of shows what it's like, and they can kind of use them to control us, like voodoo dolls in a way. And there's just all this weird black magic, I guess, stuff you could say going on with it, where it's like you're connected. Even though you might not be like aware of it on a conscious level, like you're connected to all your clones. Like if there's a clone in you, your consciousness is in that clone too. And so they use that. And one thing I remember too is like I don't really remember extremely well like the other guys. I'm sure I ran into them like, but I do remember like Britney Spears.
Okay.
And I remember that she when I would come in there, she'd say hello to me and remembered me, and I didn't remember her. And at first, she thought I was joking and playing around with her, but then eventually she realized that, like, oh, I actually really didn't remember her, and I think things slowly got worse and worse for her, and that's why she shaved her head and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And that was not like her going crazy. That was her saying to her controllers, "Okay, how these programs really work with Ordo Tempulum Nephilim. It's connected to Disney. It's connected to Nickelodeon. It's connected to these programs.
The Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah, the Mickey Mouse Club. Yeah, it's connected to parents who what they would do is they would sign their kids away to these corporations who are countries. By the way, Disney is a country, so they're signing their child away to a country, adopting their child away to a country, and what they would talk about in these meetings with the family is okay. So your daughter's going to be a star, but what you need to understand, and we're using Britney Spears as an example. Her name was Gabriella, and I can't remember her last name, but her name is not. That's her real name, Gabriella, not Britney. And they brought her parents in, and like, yeah, your daughter has all of it, can be famous, but we're going to let you in some secrets on how this industry really works, and we need you to sign some non-disclosure agreements before we can move forward. And the parents are like, non-disclosure agreements? It's just it's just industry secret stuff we won't want our competitors to know about because we have an edge on them, and that's just that kind of thing, you know. Like they reassure them, and it's like, oh, okay, so they signed the non-disclosure agreement, which brutal repercussion if you talk about anything that happens in that room after that. And basically, the contract says that, like, yeah, we're gonna give your daughter a new name, like, you know, they're gonna wear certain clothes, like they're gonna wear the clothes we tell them, they're gonna wear the hair the way the styles we tell them, the shoes, like everything about them. Who they hang out with, everything is controlled. There's an image that they have to exude, and they just kind of explain, like, yeah, this is how it works. Like we curate everything, every aspect of it, and yeah, we're even gonna give them new parents, new cool hip parents, aren't you? But don't worry, we're gonna take care of them. And once they turn 18, you'll be able to see them as much as you want again. That's what they tell them. But the reality is they sheep dip them, so they like actually do give them a new personality. That's like a clandestine term, like a black ops term for like giving somebody a new identity, erasing their old identity. They actually would do that, but they wouldn't just do it figuratively. They'd do it literally. They would brainwash the parents, maybe kill them. I don't really have all the answers. I don't know the details. All I know is they would get rid of them, however where they would, with implanted memories or what, pay them a lot of money. I'm not sure, but they get rid of them. And same thing with Britney or all these other people that they give them new artificial memories, artificial lives. Their parents are their handlers. And it's all Ordo Tempulum Nephilim making tons and tons and tons of money off them singing and performing. And then there's the aspect of it where they have clones of them, and high-paying suitors can pay to spend time with them. And basically, so there's a sexual slavery aspect to Ordo Tempulum Nephilim, where they're making, they have high-paying suitors that can pay to spend time with these individuals, but also they're making pornography that's on the black market with Britney Spears, what have you. I'm sure people these days now, these videos are old, and I'm sure people go counter them on the on the dark web. And back in the day, people were just probably like, where is this? Like, how is this real? Because you'll see them get killed and stuff like that too in some of these. And like,
oh wow,
walking around and stuff. Yeah. Some of them are snuff films. So it's like, yeah, but like now they'll probably just say, oh, it's AI. And you know, that's even with Frazzle Drip, Hillary Clinton. They're already saying that it's AI. Now they're saying it's AI. Before they said doesn't exist. Now they're saying it's AI. That it was AI generated. But these videos are real, and I'm here to tell you that. And one of the things that Ordo Tempulum, as far as I know, because my memories of all this stuff are blurry, but as far as I can tell, Ordo Tempulum Nephilim is involved in like really weird pornography where like there'll be like centaurs, cherubs, like really beautiful women that actually had real angel wings coming out of their backs.
Wow.
Like, yeah, like stuff like that. Like they make really high end fucking shit. And it's really, really expensive. And I, you know, I've talked about this with people before. Like, I truly wonder how many people realize that like aliens and stuff are real because they have really bizarre, like dark, like pornographic tastes, and they find it on the dark web. Like, I wonder about that. Like, I'm sure it happens. Like, I don't go on the dark web, but I just know like there are people buying this stuff. I know it's filmed. I know I know it's being circulated. And so like when people say there's no proof, well, you're entering a Frazzle Drip scenario because nobody really wants to look at the proof. It's illegal to look at the proof. It's literally illegal to look at the proof. So yeah, that's just an interesting aspect of it too, is the fact that all of these stars, which just goes back to like Michael Jackson, and it's not, you know, not new, but like yeah, they're all being basically like there's a sexual slavery component to it, and a ritualistic sex aspect where like a big common thing with Ordo Tempulum Nephilim and a lot of the hit songs that people love is they'll have they cut a woman, she starts bleeding, they put her in a glass, 7 guys in robes with these like plague doctor masks on.
Oh, okay.
Like, drink it. They drink it. They pass it. They drink it, and then they pass it to you. And it's kind of all blurry. I think that they all have sex with the woman first, or I join them after we drink the blood, or we all have sex with her before the blood. But the thing that I do remember is then what they do a lot with me is that I'm fucking the girl, and as she climaxes, as she orgasms, there's a guy with an axe, and he cuts her head off as she's orgasming, and they put that into the music, that like energy.
And they do that either during or before they record, right?
I think it's during.
Okay.
And Ordo Tempulum Nephilim is like ancient, and it's of course connected to the Nephilim. I know that like there's human faces towards it, to it for the most part that I dealt with, but behind the scenes there's like the Nephilim that are really in charge of it, and that's who they're worshiping. And those are like the big dogs of the group is the Nephilim. So yes, the music and entertainment industry is literally controlled by aliens. To all the people who have suspected that, who have felt that in their gut, that it literally is controlled, and a lot of it's mind control, of course. And yeah, the memory that I got though, this is fast forward. So the stuff that happened when I was a child, you know, like I said, I'd wake up, they abused me. We'd make a song or whatever. I think there was a ritualistic aspect where they would do the ritual to me too, where they would, kill me, like in a sexual ritual. Like, it's hard for me to say because like the memories are really unclear, and I have feelings of like brotherhood kind of with Max Martin. Not really Dennis though, but I feel like it's maybe one of those things where even if you're in a weird abusive relationship, sometimes you get along with the person who's your abuser, right? So like take that with a grain of salt. But I also like the last thing I'd want to do is like say stuff about like these guys that's like not true and have it come out that I was wrong. But like as far as I can tell you guys, like I'm gonna be real and really upfront. Like as far as I can tell, they're Satanists. That's how they met. Ordo Tempulum Nephilim is like, I guess Satanism is like a blanket term now. It's dark magic. They weren't really worshiping Satan. They were worshiping like Baphomet and Moloch and stuff like that. And but like it's a cult, and they use the music. They opened up a portal with the music, and they started using the music as like a way to like garner power. And they became part of Ordo Tempulum Nephilim, which is controlling the music industry through time travel and creating the music industry through time travel. And so obviously my alter Jacob was a part of the Montauk project and understands how the music industry works, and he understands how it's all done through time travel. And if you really want to get in there and really be one of the big dogs that matter, you need to be part of their little club. And it's kind of fucked up, but that's what it is. And same the Ordo Temple Nephilim, as far as I can tell, was also Jacob, that same altar that was being used. He's the musical one, so it would only make sense. And I have this friend, and the irony, they call us assets, they call us ghosts. And I'm not going to use his real name. I'm going to use his which was a stage name for a bit, Lyle Graves. And he called himself Ghost Effects, which you can still find some of his music, but he had like a, I'm going to be real and just upfront about it, and I'm not trying to talk bad about him, but he had a mental breakdown and like deleted all his music off the internet. So like you can't find most of it anymore, but some of it's there. But yeah, he won his Ghost Effects, and I made music with him in my hometown of Appleton, and we were just he was just like a really like a musical genius. Like he lived with me for a little bit, and he'd wake up or start working on music as soon as he'd wake up, and he'd literally fall asleep working on music at the computer, and I'd have to like hit the space bar to pause it, and then I'd wake up to him first thing in the morning. He's working on music, and this guy just pumps out songs, and they're all incredible. And we made music together. We had this little project that we started, and then he disappeared for like years, just disappeared. And then one day he just shows up on my porch, like during the Mile Music Fest in my hometown, and he's like, yeah, man, like I'm tired of working at Walmart, like I want to be a professional musician. And I'm like, I'm doing music kind of like full time at this point. And we start working on music again. And it was at the beginning of 2020. So from what I recall, and this is the memory that I got back like literally like 3 or 4 days ago, is like I used to think, and I've talked about it in interviews, and this is where I can rectify and say that I guess things happened a little bit different than I originally remembered. What I remembered is that like we got kidnapped and like taken to these guys, and like what I thought happened. And I have discovered that that's not what happened. I kept on talking to him. My alter kept on calling out Jacob. I told him like everything. I told him all this. I'm an author. My name is Jacob. I told him all of it, and I told him that if you ever tell my cover author about all this stuff that we're doing, I'll kill you with my bare hands, and I'll get away with it. So I told him I'll fucking kill you, and I'm not kidding. Just as soon as you start telling me about it, I'll fucking kill you. I will wake up. I'll activate, and I'll murder you. So don't tell him about it. Don't even fucking try. Like, that was a threat, dude. I told him that. And I asked him one morning when I woke up, like it was me. I woke up as Jacob. And I was just like, so you really want this, buddy? You want to be a big shot? You want the whole world to hear your music? You want to be famous, don't you? And he's like, yeah, I do. And like, I could tell he was scared. He was like, what's going on? Who the fuck is this guy? And I'm like, all right, well, it's a full moon tonight. If you're serious about this, we can do this, man. And I can show you what it's really like. We got to do a ritual, but it's gonna involve a contract that you have to make. And I'm gonna write up the contract, and you're gonna have to cut your hand, and you're gonna have to put blood on the contract in order to sign it. You don't sign it with your signature; you sign it with blood, drops of blood. And I told him we need all these materials. One of them being a mirror. And I was like, yeah, all right. And then we're gonna go to the meadow tonight. It's a full moon tonight. And basically, I opened it's blurry. But from what I can recall, I opened up that mirror, and then we stepped through that mirror, and we were on like this part of the memory I've talked about. It's real, like it was like Max Martin and Dennis Pop, like they greeted us, and like what I think with this memory is that I've been there on multiple occasions. Like like there's more than one time that they used me at Ordo Tempulum Nephilim. More than one. What do they call it? They call it something. When you're not a pilgrimage, patronage, not that. There's like a word, residency. You get a residency there, and it's supposed to be like a privilege or whatever. Like, but it's also kind of fucked up. Like, but like, yeah, I all I know is like the details are blurry, but like the whole idea that like we were victims and we got tricked into this, I'm realizing is maybe a bit of a fallacy, and that my altar was covering it up, and that both Ghost and I willingly walked into this, willingly did this, knew what we were doing. And and I can explain, like, when you got to the studio, like, Dennis Pop will like show you like, this is TH1389D5B or something like that. And it's this powder stuff. And you're like, what, you trying to party? What is this stuff? And it's like, no, he's like, it hooks up your brain to the computer. And so, yeah, you're hooked up to this with a computer, and like your mind is like telepathically linked to it. You can move the sounds around with your mind. If you don't like the way the cadence of a sound is, like, you can actually change it, like with your mind, or even just plan out whole songs with your mind, like. And so that's a big aspect of it. And yeah, it's on Centurion 5, the recording studio that they use for most of the stuff. Maybe they have more than one, but I remember the one that I used was on this like mountain on Centurion 5, and overlooking like a valley, which in the distance of that you can see this like a city, like a mega city in the distance. And, yeah, it's like in the middle of the jungle, so it's hard to get to, like, because it's like that's how Centurion is. Like the cities are like protected by like a bubble fence thing, and Magna Leviton train that's underneath the ground, which makes it really easy for them to control movement there, because it's dangerous to travel any other way. The forests have like dinosaurs and stuff like that in it.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any questions. Sorry, I'm kind of just going on and on.
It's cool. So Ordo Tempulum Nephilim, how did you find out that name? Did they call it that? Is there like a sign there or something?
I just remembered it.
Okay.
I just don't know how to explain it other than that. Like,
Okay.
I just remembered it.
All right.
And I wrote it down, and I figured out that it's the same thing as this time cult.
You would wake up in a facility there with clone capsules and stuff, right?
Yeah. That's like the first times that I was there as a child. And then like I think that it eventually developed into me being able to go there on my own free will, hence the whole thing with Lyle Graves, Ghost Effects, and bringing him in there. But like, yeah, I think there's some of it's like me being unaware and taken there. And yeah, I think that's the explanation, is there's a little bit of both going on. And I also suspect that they might use more than one altar, because I know Jacob is very musical, but I also have another altar named Hans, who's musical,
Mhm.
the German altar,
Okay.
and he's
Yeah.
made a lot of like Euro dance music.
Mhm.
So I can only like imagine that they've probably used more than one altar, but yeah, and they also are kind of open about the Church of the Holy Ghost Rider, which
Yeah.
people can look into that. It's super weird, and if
Yeah.
you know about the Ordo Tempulum Nephilim aspect of it, like the joke falls a lot more flat. It doesn't seem like a joke. Like that's what they do with a lot of stuff they present. It's like, oh, haha, but it's like no, like really, like they have this whole thing they do where they're like telling you like there's ghostwriters writing all these songs. They like
Right.
literally
So
telling you.
yeah. So this is a very interesting aspect. You're saying that they have a front organization called the Church of the Holy Ghost Rider, and then this order is kind of an unknown, right? You have to get to it like by invitation. You don't know about it, right? And
Yeah.
so, for example, when you would wake up, you say, and you would meet Brittany there, that would be in Sweden in the Chiron studios, right? So she would be at the Chiron studios and you
Yeah.
would be brought there. And
Yeah,
she would not.
they had an underground way to bring me there to where they wouldn't have to bring me on the surface. I'm pretty
Right,
sure.
right.
I
And then you
remember-
would go up to the surface where Brittany, they would just work on music as normal, right?
Yeah, but they're also very openly sexual towards her in the recording studio. But
Oh, wow.
more or less just working on music with her though.
I see.
It's just part of the business is what a lot of these women think, and unfortunately that's the way it's been for years until like the Me Too thing happened, and that seems to be changing.
Okay. Yeah, because there are like photographs with Max Martin sitting with Britney at an old like 90s computer working on the music. So
Mhm.
I was wondering like, so that's one aspect. We have like two levels, right? One level is like the surface where there's like a studio people can go to. Everybody knows about it. It's called Chiron Studios. And then there is a level underground somewhere where there is all this weird stuff going on, right?
Yeah, well, the underground is where the sexual ritual is happening, but I was up there with them, working on the songs with them. And there was a room that they would go in. There was a room that they had that wasn't right there with the computers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And they would go in there to like, and for me it was melody. They'd have me come up with a melody. You'll hear Max Martin say, "I always start the song with a melody. Melody
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
don't start with the chord progression. Don't start with start with a melody. If you build a song on a melody, that's key, like to making a hip hop song." As he talks about that, and they would use my melodies, probably because I'm a musical deity of some sort or some weird. There's a lot about my stuff I don't understand, but they literally look at me as some sort of deity, musical deity.
Okay. So this part, this part, you say that they think, at least they believe, that you are a reincarnation of some Egyptian god, right?
Yeah, of some sort.
Which
from
one?
what I understand, Arkheim Ra, which was still who I know is confusing, but Marduk deleted me from history. I'm not in history anymore.
So this deity, Arkheim Ra, is what you're calling yourself right now. Used to be a real being that lived on Earth, right?
Yeah, there were statues of me and everything. Like
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I found them in some like old world Tartarian books where it shows Egypt and it shows the statues, and it's not like Thoth or like any of these other guys.
Oh, cool.
It's like literally a bird person. Like, yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's me.
All right, cool. Okay, and so they take you because of that, because they at least they believe. I don't know if you believe it, but
same thing with I think that there's an aspect of that too with John Whitberg, because he's a songwriter.
Yeah.
Who was in the programs, and he was Sobek. So I think there's an aspect where they and then look at all their music videos too. I saw the sign, so much Egyptian stuff in there.
Yes.
And also
Ace of Base, of course.
Yeah. Katy Perry, Dark Horse. There's I could go on and on. If I was smart, I would have gotten a list together and went on for 5 minutes of all songs that they put all this Egyptian symbolism into. You know what I mean?
And you're saying that Chiron Studio had a secret room where they would still do the rituals on the surface, right? It's not like an underground thing.
Yeah, it wasn't really secret, but it was more like So they were doing coke and stuff in there. So the idea was, it's kind of like the forbidden room in a way, and people didn't know there was anything more than that going on there. But from what I recall, there was, and they were doing some, P-file stuff to me. From what I recall, they were doing some of that. So
I see.
yeah.
Okay. So now about the altar aspect. When you talk about Britney, for example, do you think she was? Do you think she has altars? First of all,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So do you think that when they would do stuff to her, would this be in an altar? Would they activate her as an altar and
She has
do
like
things?
I think she has like a sex kitten altar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But some clientele don't want them to be. They want them to be scared and not want it. So it depends.
Right. Yeah.
But like yeah, but
So
yeah,
it
she
depends, right?
has altars and she's in the programs and she's an asset and stuff. Yeah, for
Mm.
sure.
Okay.